Hello, and welcome to Nostalgia Marcana. I'm your host, Doug Leaf. Each episode of this podcast, we'll look back on the movies, TV, games, people, and phenomena that we still love talking about all these years later, and ask ourselves why these bits of pop culture still enchant us today. This week, we'll be revisiting... There's really only one way to begin a podcast on today's subject, and that is we're talking about Destroy All Monsters today. We are taking our first trip to the world of kaiju and this very storied franchise that is both very weird and yet has stuck around for 40, 50 years at this point. So I'm very glad we're finally digging into this genre, which we have not gotten into before. And I wouldn't be doing it alone because one kaiju needs another to punch. So please welcome to the podcast. We've decided to refer to him as perennial semi-professional podcast guest, Joe Mastropiero, a.k.a. Joedecahedron. Welcome, Joe.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here talking about one of my favorite childhood passions.
Yeah, we kind of kicked around the idea of doing, you said you wanted to do Godzilla or something Godzilla related. And I remember we sort of was like, well, we want to try and make sure we touch on some of the other monsters that are part of the Godzilla cast of characters, your Mothras, Rodans, what have you. And so this came up, and I think it's a great choice because this is one I think people have heard of. This is one people are very fond of, and it does, as we mentioned, the gang's all here.
Oh yeah. They wanted to tie in every single franchise that they had going at the moment because they were also trying to put a nice little neat bow on it. They had all these different monster movies, all of which were doing pretty well, but they were considering moving in a new direction. So they decided, well, we need to put a story together to tie all this together and to wrap it up neatly before we move on. I think they did a pretty good job with it.
Yeah, I was going to say this is kind of the Avengers for the Godzilla cinematic universe. And this is from an era, if people are not familiar, this is the era of Godzilla of Japanese-made films, fully Japanese cast, crew, and with guys in rubber suits smashing models and stuff. So real shoestring budget stuff. And it's that is now charming, instead of a knock against it. It was great. So let me ask you, I'll kick it off the way we always kick off this podcast. Tell me your nostalgic memories of Godzilla, this film, and why this was the subject that's so near and dear to your heart.
So growing up, I was a bit of a PBS kid. We didn't have cable, so I watched a lot of that. So, things like Reading Rainbow and Sesame Street, stuff like that as a kid. But for some reason, two other things showed up on PBS quite frequently when I was a kid. One being Monty Python's Flying Circus, and the other being Godzilla films. So I was exposed to it at a fairly young age, and my father was also very interested in kaiju movies as well. So oftentimes we would watch them together, and they just stuck around with me. And I collected the toys, and then I had a bit of a second renaissance too when I got a bit older. When I got my first DVD player and TV to myself, and I went to the local back then it was just a store that only sold DVDs, and they had their own little section for foreign film, and within that they would have a whole shelf of not just Godzilla but things like Gamera, the Gargantuas, Reptilicus, and I fell in love with these types of films mainly because they're from a different place, so I got to experience a different culture. Japan at that time was very trying to be Americanized, so it seemed familiar enough, but also definitely different enough that it was very intriguing and enticing to me at that age. So I just ate the stuff up.
Yeah, this was. I remember being kind of aware of it. This is actually the first actual Godzilla film I've seen.
Oh, cool.
I've not really gone in. Like I said, this was a cool chance for me to experience this finally. I've seen King Kong, that's obvious antecedent. But I think my first experience with anything like Godzilla would have been watching the film One Crazy Summer. There's a scene in that movie which is a really fun, weird movie. But at one point, this character played by Bobcat Goldthwait is dressed up as Godzilla for plot reasons. It's like he's wearing a costume for something, and he wanders into this garden party. He can't see where he's going in the suit. And the garden party is being held by the bad guy who's a real estate developer. So he has this big model of the thing he wants to develop. And then the guy, without realizing it, accidentally drops a lit cigar down the mouth of the costume, which leads to him breathing smoke and freaking out and then stomping on the model. And so great. I knew enough of the Godzilla iconography to get that joke.
Yeah, that's all you need to know.
Yeah, I remember growing up seeing things bits of Ultraman and there was I had friends who were very into big video gamers, but at the time back in the late 80s, early 90s, that was back when they were distinctly these are games that were released in Japan only. And it was a cool thing to get your hands on this Japanese game, even if you couldn't read the kanji.
Oh yeah.
But they would also, in connection with that, they would go shopping at the kind of stores where you could get that stuff and come back with the action figures you're talking about. And just talk about a little boy's fever dream of yes, they're the best monsters ever.
Oh yeah. And another great thing was being able to share that with my son. I got him interested in it, and I was able to give him all of my action figures when I was a kid. He still has them all in his room, and he's just as big a fan of Godzilla as I am, if not more so at this point.
And where did Destroy All Monsters come along? Since that's the one we're specifically talking about today, was that the first one you saw, or was that something you came across later? Or
it was definitely one of the first few I saw. I know the original. I'm sure I actually probably saw later on, and this one, I think the title itself paints such a picture in your head that's the one you would grab for at a blockbuster. So Destroy All Monsters is definitely one of the first few, if not the first, that I did see. And then it was, like you said, it was a beautiful Avengers moment, and then from there you can kind of branch out and explore the other kaiju in their own films, which was good.
Yeah, because I don't know how many of these films there are. I imagine you might know the count, but it's dozens.
Oh yeah,
right?
So yeah, I think they're all split into different eras in which they were produced, and this was the final film in the very first block of films. I think this was the somewhere in the low teens for Godzilla films. There had been several beforehand. And then this one capstoned the first era of Godzilla films. And then a year or two later, they started doing the next group, which were more children-focused and a bit more campy. And this was the last of their real heavy-hitting... They tried to really present a compelling story. And also, they were big on alien themes at the time. So you get to see a lot of that. And this really interesting, futurism. They were very big on trying to show off what it'll look like in the future. And it has this really 70s aesthetic still. Yeah, so it's film 14 or 15 out of, at this point, 35 or so.
Yeah, that really struck me as well, because I was expecting going in, okay, we're going to see all these monsters battle each other. We'll get into the beat by beat in a minute, but a major part of this movie is, guess what? There's also aliens. And it was just sort of oh, okay. Again, going into that kind of storytelling that's almost the way like my 6-year-old tells stories in ways like, and then there were aliens, and like thinking again of like the Marvel Cinematic Universe of like, well, that's what the Avengers is, right? They go up against a big force of invading aliens, as if, you know, Wizards and Hulks and, you know, Iron Men and all that wasn't weird enough. And you just sort of accept it. Like there's this suspension of disbelief that is like so easy here to just go like, yes, all of my like story nitpicking stuff, just leave it at the door. That's so far from the point.
Exactly. It's very Star Trek-y in that way, where I don't even consider the sci-fi. It's just, you know, they say it's a thing and it works that way. Go for it. Let's go.
Yeah, the key thing here is just how fun is this, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, and it is just, it's relentlessly fun and silly and campy, and in a way that like, I can see why people gravitate to this. Like it's, you can get those things separately, but like this is a unique blend of all of those ingredients.
And another interesting thing is, like you went going in, people don't expect to start up a Godzilla movie and then see that a good portion of the film is about people, you know, and there's more story involved than you would expect too, which I think is, something that I turn people onto it. It's not just monsters beating each other up. It's a nice part of it. But there's usually a nice human element too, which I've always been a big fan of.
I think you have to. Yeah, as you said, like just watching two guys in rubber monster suits punch and kick each other would wear out its welcome pretty quickly. You have to find things for the human characters to do. And here, actually, yeah, like I won't say they're ancillary, but it's interesting for like as many of them as there are, right? They're all here. So much of the plot is sort of just, they're pawns in the plot rather than being like the primary driver of things. So... well, let's get into it. Let's talk about this movie because there's some weird shit in here to go through. So yeah, I said like you open this movie and you're expecting, you know, monsters and you know the iconography, these giant lizards and things you're familiar with, but that's not what we get. What we get is our introduction, a lot of narration. And by the way, I watched this in the original Japanese. In fact, I hope my notes are good because I was watching it on my phone with subtitles, trying to type what I was looking at.
Oh, perfect.
So if I get something wrong, please jump in and correct me because
no worries, we'll do.
I may be wildly off base. Okay, so we've got this moon base. We're already up to moon bases here.
Yeah, so the first 5 minutes we're in the moon base.
Right, 2 minutes into the movie, there's a moon base. There's like a blast off, and we're told that this is what's going on. Like people have a colony on the moon. And we're getting a lot of exposition and download because the next thing we're told about is Monster Island, where all of the kaiju have been either like incarcerated or just sort of think of it like a giant nature preserve for them. And it's a place where humanity can study them from a modestly safe distance.
Yes. And that's one of the cool things. They immediately start you off by saying that it's far off in the future. And by far off in the future, they mean 1999 because this was made in the 60s. So it's always fun seeing something that's 20 years in the past that's supposed to be in the future.
There's that. I like the idea of like they have to account for all of these monsters' various abilities and power set. In particular, you have some that can fly. And as we'll see, like when they are set loose, they can go anywhere in the world. They're so big, you know, they can walk across the ocean basically to wherever they want to go. So they have like force fields and stuff to keep them from leaving this island. But they seem, I don't know, they seem happy. They seem okay here.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I thought that part of this would be them trying to escape, but that's ultimately not what this is about.
Yeah, they want to show off like we've been fighting against them for so long that it kind of jumps ahead into the future. And we've contained them, we've got them under control, and they're almost an afterthought at this point for the world.
Yeah, and people like, you know, they do like regular patrols, just kind of making sure everything's copacetic. We're told that the monsters are made sure they have a good food supply, so they have no reason to leave. And yeah, no one's shooting at them, so they're probably okay. I don't get a good sense of how intelligent they're supposed to be. I assume they're like animal level intelligence.
Yeah, they give like an instinctual like animal level as far as the intelligence goes.
Yep. And so we get a call from the moon, and
Like
we have our, like you do. So we have this guy who's on the moon and this girl who's down below, and he's worried about a possible monster on the moon, which will not come into play for quite a long time. But he's concerned, and then all of a sudden, like, all the power just shuts off on Monster Island and the nearby, like, monitoring station.
Yeah. It just everything shuts off, screens goes black. It's a prelude of what's about to come.
Well, and everybody's getting gassed. Not just, well, I should say not just the people, but the monsters. Like, there's just
they're big
knockout
on gas.
Yeah, huge knockout gas fans. So that's a lot of gas you need, because those guys are big.
Yeah.
So yeah, they gas everybody, and then they are trying to investigate, like, with the satellites. They're being jammed. There's like this one American in the group. I think he's American.
There's always one, or at least after the first couple of films, there's always usually one English-speaking actor. And previous to that, they would re-film. They would do some alternate shoots to add English-speaking actors into the films for the older films, like the first couple of Godzilla movies. But afterwards, they had started just putting in an English-speaking actor. Although, even in the English dub, he's still dubbed. Even though he's speaking English, they just dub him with a different voice, also speaking English.
Yeah, he never speaks Japanese in the movie. Or I'm sorry, English in the movie. He's always speaking Japanese to all of the other Japanese people in the room. Yeah, and I was like trying to keep track of this guy. Like, oh, it's going to be important that there's this one, like, Caucasian dude in the midst of this entire Japanese movie. No, he's just there.
Yeah, he's just there. He's the one guy.
Yep, token white guy for this movie. And then, like, I love that this, like, we're like 7 minutes into this movie.
It moves fast.
And we're now told that not only has, like, the barriers all failed, the monsters are already, like, worldwide causing destruction. It's been, like, again, 7 minutes, and, like, there's one wrecking the Arc de Triomphe. Rodan is in Moscow, which, yeah, I think these monsters are all cool. Rodan was one of the ones I knew going in. It's like, oh, he's a big, like, flying creature, like dragon.
This bird dude.
Do you have a favorite?
Out of my favorite, like, in the Godzilla MonsterVerse, isn't in this film. He doesn't show up until, like, mid-70s. But within this film, I would say probably Rodan. He was one of the first films that I got on DVD, because I got, like, the separate just Rodan film, and I watched the hell out of that. So I was a big fan. I thought it was pretty neat that he could just fly over a place and just do a, what is it called, like sonic boom, and just obliterate things below him. It's just really neat, and it's one of the few flying creatures. So I always thought that they looked pretty cool. So yeah, of the group, probably that he would be my favorite.
Yeah, obviously I knew Godzilla. I was kind of curious to see, like, oh, well, how about Mothra? But, like, Mothra is a grub in this movie. Yeah. He never, sprouts wings and...
Nope.
Yeah.
They don't spend enough time, I guess. But yeah, so Mothra is interesting because she typically goes from a grub form, and then will form a cocoon, and then show up in, like, the third act as Mothra. Usually something will happen to fatally wound her, and then she will revert back to an egg. And she just keeps recycling over and over again. They just decided to keep her a caterpillar in this one.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to see them all. Again, we finally get we've seen Godzilla again through this flyover stuff, but now he's wrecking New York City.
Of course, yeah.
Before his exceptional turn doing so in the Matthew Broderick.
Yeah, exactly. Oh boy.
Yikes. I haven't seen it. I knew its reputation, so no need.
I mean, it has its moments, but overall, it's not bad.
Just watch Cloverfield and pretend.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So there's a big meeting to talk about what the hell's happening.
And what are we gonna do?
Yeah. What are they gonna do? And so the big question is, why didn't they attack Tokyo? It's like the biggest close, large city. They probably destroyed it 50 times already.
Exactly. Yeah.
So nobody knows. And we go back to the moon, and there's this rocket that's like our hero. That's the Millennium Falcon, basically, for this movie. And they are out on a patrol, and they see a flying saucer. And they follow it up to a point, but then they kind of beg off and leave it alone.
Yeah, they're following orders, so they can't just keep continuing on it.
Which amazing, because I would think, like, wouldn't you want to? Like,
yeah.
This would be the first appearance of aliens in this series, right?
Nope, not by. No. This is like the third or fourth.
Okay, so it's not novel. I think if it was the first encounter with aliens, you would not just go, "No, that's weird." Anyway,
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that would explain why they're a little bit less peaked to chase after it. But yeah, there's been the Mysterians and one or two others at this point. So yeah, humanity's kind of used to aliens.
Yeah. And used to giant monsters. It's just de rigueur. So they have a meeting on the moon, and at the moon base, and the astronauts from this ship. Why don't I have it in my notes? Oh, SY3. The SY3, and their crew of heroes are apparently humanity's only hope, because they're told they need to go down to Monster Island and investigate, because I think with the idea is their craft can fly, so they can observe this from a safe distance and land if they need to.
Yeah, it's just like the most sophisticated piece of technology that they have, so might as well send the people that are the best equipped, I guess.
Right. So they fly down, they land, they investigate the monster base, and they find the girl we met before, her blues, Kyoko.
Yes, Kyoko.
And this doctor, and they want cooperation, because the monsters are now under remote control, but so are they.
Yeah, just don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Also, mind control is in play here.
Oh yeah,
big time. And so they demonstrate their mind control by basically commanding the monsters to start destroying more stuff.
Yeah, as if that's going to put anybody not on edge. I'm sure they could have done other things.
Yeah, and this is what I mean by saying, like, the monsters are kind of pawns, which is just like, oh, you want this train destroyed? Click, go do it.
Yep.
Which, that's I thought that was a solid enough device as a plot device to, like, push this forward. Like, great, the monsters are all under someone else's control.
Absolutely.
Do you have a sequence you like out of this, like, bit of destruction and mayhem?
So I thought it was amusing watching Mothra derail a train, but this is also the first point where you get to see some of the tertiary monsters that you don't typically see too much of, like Manda. You see it's like a little long, very Chinese dragon style shaped creature, like wrap itself up around a high-rise train rail. You see Gorosaurus. He's the one that was breaking up the Arc de Triomphe. And on one of the monitors, there's one or two monsters that I think combined have a total of like 6 seconds of airtime. One of them is Baragon. And the reasoning for that, as far as we know, is the suit got so beat up because it was used on things like Ultraman and other shows that it wouldn't have withstood doing anything other than establishing shots. So they just put Baragon in the background once or twice. The same thing goes for another creature called Varan, which has a real blink if you miss it moment at the very end of the film. There's one or two spots where there's just a monster who's like T-posing and floating up into the air. And that's Varan, and he doesn't do anything at all in the film except that. So I like whenever I watch things like this or other movies, I like to look in the background for like the silly things that may not jump out right at first, and those are immediately my two favorites.
Yeah. Well, now we get to meet who's in charge. We meet, there's this huge empty room, and we have a lady in like shimmering silver glittery clothes, like very like 60s version of the future, Jetsons clothes.
Absolutely.
And she reveals that she is the queen of the people of Kilak, which is a race of aliens that live in the asteroid belt. And there's like a force field there. They try to shoot her, it does no good. And they basically say, what they want is to colonize the Earth. And that's their goal, standard alien stuff. And since that doesn't do any good in terms of trying to stop them, they just I think they just turn on the gas again, and people have to run and scramble for gas masks.
Yeah, they were hoping that they would be able to just tell us, hey, listen, we're here now, don't fight us, just deal with it. Of course, we immediately start shooting them. They realize, oh well, I guess we're just gonna have to it's going to have to take the gloves off now. And, yep, they just go in with the gas like they always do.
Well, I mean, when your first salvo is, hey, we're using mind control and giant city destroying monsters, maybe a parlay is a little late.
I would agree.
Yeah. So they're talking to this scientist, Dr. Otani. And he's not answering any questions, right? They're trying to question him because obviously he's got the link back to the Kalakians or Kalaks or whatever you call them. And so there's just like, they threaten to turn him into the UN. He doesn't do anything. He just ends up looking out the window and then jumps to his death.
Yes, you really don't expect it. I feel it was one of the better twists almost in this, where he's already like halfway out the window before my brain's even registering. Wait a second, what's he doing? Oh,
yeah. I mean, it's a good solid just jump out of window. It's like, oh, okay,
just
they can
walks
command
up
you
and out.
Yep, you have to do whatever they tell you to do. So
exactly, it kind of it really exemplifies that this sort of superiority that these creatures have, both in technology and just in control. Gives a sense of helplessness almost.
Yeah. So our hero here, I can't remember his name, our captain here from the SY3.
Yeah.
So he goes down to the beach to investigate Otani's body, and he is met by Kyoko again. And she's she's also under the control of the Kalakians, but so he's trying to find out what's going on from her. And she basically says, come with me. You got to get away from the secret police who are coming. So we have this fight between guys in black suits that have ray guns that I guess are alien controlled, and the guys in brown suits that have conventional guns.
Yes. Yeah, the UN secret police, which are all just a bunch of dudes in brown suits.
Right. So they get away in a boat, and I guess they managed to recover Otani's body because they find this little bead behind, they have to operate, cut him open to get it, but there's a little device behind his ear, and that is the aliens' transmitter. That's how they're controlling people and the monsters. So the new goal is figure out where they're transmitting from and stop the signal.
Exactly.
And I like that. This movie doesn't the pacing is really good. They're not
There's very few moments where there's long pauses with nothing happening. It always feels like they're moving on to the next thing, and like you said, everything's going everything's timed really well.
Yeah, I mean, so the SY3 takes to the air, it finds a signal that's abnormal immediately, and they trace it to these weird rocks that are in a stream, and they figure out that the rocks are actually transmitters. That have been scattered around the earth to implement the World Wide Web of alien mind control.
Exactly.
It's a good scheme.
Yeah, I mean, it was nice, quick, easy data coverage. I mean, T-Mobile could learn a thing or two, I feel.
Yes, of course. So they have a press conference to tell everybody, hey, there's these rocks around. We got to find them and get rid of them. And Yoshida explains, this is a transceiver with a computer, and he asks for cooperation from in finding the Monsterland team members, essentially, to make progress. It's interesting. So Kyoko gets off the subway. She's stopped by guys in the brown suits. They don't find a scar on her neck.
No.
So her mind control thing must be somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, better hidden. And then it's time for Rodan to attack Tokyo.
Mm-hmm. Yep. They decided that we've been looking too much into their business, so they decide to just start throwing monsters at the people trying to stop them.
Well, Godzilla's there. You got Manda again is there. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just smashy time of these little models.
Yeah, Godzilla goes absolutely ham on some like almost like an oil rig or some sort of industrial space. He just starts going to town on it like he's having a good time.
Yeah, like obviously these are low budget affairs, but they definitely spend their money on the explosives when they can.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And they're models, yes, but they're pretty detailed models. They look pretty good especially for the time frame which the movie was made.
Yeah. And then I have my notes here. Yeah, Mothra joins the fray. Like, all the monsters are converging on Tokyo. Mm-hmm. Like, it's priority one for the aliens to stop these guys.
Yes.
And just lots of big kabooms. And yeah, we have this like sunset moment, and we see all the devastation, and like the joint defense guys are like, "Oh, we got hit hard. Mm-hmm. Tokyo's in ruins."
Yeah, that sunset moment where that panning shot I think you're talking about, it mimics a similar shot in the very first Godzilla film, where they cut to the devastation that happened there after Godzilla's first initial attack.
Yeah, and it's hard to like. You have to kind of like put yourself back in the mindset of a Japanese audience in the 60s going like, well, they've seen that kind of devastation before under very, very, not surreal circumstances.
Exactly. Yeah. The series, the Godzilla series as a whole was originally designed to speak on that whole situation, the American nuclear threat.
I mean, that is what sparks Godzilla in the first place, right? Is the, the bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Exactly.
And so it's interesting, like sometimes like when Japanese storytelling gets real weird and you have to remember like, oh, this is still a response to that. Mm-hmm. Like it's a very weird kind of a, artistically, strange response to it. But like, a lot of this stuff wouldn't exist but for those events.
Oh, for sure. And the same director that did the original 54 film was the one that directed this.
That makes sense. Mm-hmm. Clearly knows his subject matter. So we find out that for some reason after attacking Tokyo, the Kalaks are now more interested in the Izu Peninsula, and like the question is like, why are they spending all their time down there in this part of Japan that otherwise seemingly has no particular interest?
Yeah, exactly.
So they think they have a base down there, and so they're going to take the SY-3 up and use its radar to try and figure out where it is. And Kyoko tells them straight up, yes, there's a base in Izu. This was for the Kalakians to establish a foothold on Earth. And that if the humans stand down, everyone can live in harmony. Which, again, the time for that kind of an argument is past.
They shouldn't have opened with the monsters attacking.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. You killed hundreds of thousands of people, and now you want to talk peace. Yeah.
You sat there with me and had a conversation that said, "Hey, look at this," and destroyed a train, hundreds of lives lost, and we're just supposed to parlay and just have a nice conversation now.
Yeah. See, our hero grabs her and pulls out the transmitters, which are her earrings. It turns out.
Yeah, kind of. It goes off on a hunch too, and just decides to like. Pretty violently rip one of the earrings out.
Yeah, I thought he doesn't literally rip them through her earlobes, but like it looks like he's about to. But she's not bleeding or anything. But pretty forceful.
In the video, once I watched his blood, it's pretty.
That's what I get for watching it on a screen the size of a deck of playing cards. Oh, that's pretty rough. He just rips them.
Yeah, like there's blood coming off her ear. It's all over the side of her head.
Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, the last thing she remembers was being gassed. She doesn't remember any of these events. Yeah.
She's been controlled the whole time.
Right. So tanks are on the march, and like the rockets flying along with the tanks. Like Godzilla's at the landing zone, and it starts blasting the SY-3, so it flies up and out of Godzilla's range. The tanks open fire on Godzilla. Like it's a whole like standoff between human tanks and monsters, in particular Anguirus.
More like Anguirus.
It's an interesting looking.
Yeah. He was like the first monster that Godzilla like tangoed with way back in the day, and he has this tendency of getting the snot kicked out of him. Usually, that's just kind of the go-to for him. I always thought he looked pretty neat, but he does tend to be the one that gets beat up a lot.
I mean, somebody's got to be the punching bag, even in the monster world.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Low guy on the totem pole. So yeah, everybody retreats. This is too much.
Oh yeah.
And the SY-3 spots the UFO and it pursues. It lands near Mount Fuji, but because Rodan is in pursuit, they can't engage the UFO. They got to get out of there. So the plan is to fly to space where Rodan cannot follow. And they determined there must be a base somewhere on the western slope of Mount Fuji. The ground team approaches that area on foot, figuring the tanks were too much of a draw for the monsters. But Godzilla is there, so they need to spread out. And like this kind of reminded me of there's some scenes from Jurassic Park, the original one, where like they're hiding, they hide from that little stampede, and then the T-Rex is there, and they kind of like that big grassy field. They hide behind like a big tree to wait for it to go by, so they can leave safely.
There's a very like it's surprising how sneaky Godzilla can be, and how much you have to kind of. There's instances where people have to kind of like quietly move around him, and in other films he just shows up. You would imagine people would be able to hear him coming pretty easily.
Yeah, you would think he doesn't seem built for stealth. No. So we go to a cave. They go to this cave in the mountain, and the only choice is to kind of go deeper and deeper because like the thing like closes behind them, and there's a force field, and the Kalakians appear. And they're shown footage inside the base of like where all these saucers are. And there's, they make this like declaration, right? Earth does not belong to humans alone. But meanwhile, the Monsterland controls are back online. And the team on that part of the assignment here is trying to figure out, again, where is the signal coming from so we can stop it. And they find out the true source of the signal is the moon.
Yes.
So it's to the moon.
Lucky for them, they have a rocket ship ready to go.
Yep, the one rocket ship.
The one.
Yep. So they go, and they're told, do not take off your spacesuits until you figure out what to do with the Kalakians. And so they, on their way to their intended destination at the Cassini crater, there's a UFO right there at 5 o'clock, and so. They have no choice, but they descend into the crater, and their plan is to attack from the rover.
Interesting, like spot where the rover comes out too. It's as it's coming down. There's these rockets. There's fire, and then the rover comes out right next to where the rockets are shooting.
It's a cool like toy. Like I can picture a kid having the SY-3 and like the rover that comes out of it, like. Even back in these like pre-Star Wars days, you could see like, oh yeah, somebody wants to make a buck like selling these things. They're cool.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So they take the tank out to the base and they want to fire what's called a maser cannon. I'm not sure what makes it different from a laser.
I think the M stands for microwave. I think it's a microwave laser.
Okay.
They show up a lot in Godzilla, the older Godzilla movies.
Yeah. They use it, and like the Kalakians on the other side of this thing, they just collapse. And so we get this quick shot of like the Earth folks, they want a full report, back down on Earth. And they're like, oh, well, if they fail, we'll be the next to die. Anyway, who wants coffee?
Yes.
That got me. I was like,
there's a very like jarring switch there.
Yeah, like, well, this is pretty routine now for these people.
Well, either they succeeded or we're all going to die. Well, let's just enjoy ourselves.
Yep. So the astronauts get out of the rover and they approach the Kalak base, and like they go deeper and deeper into it. and they start removing like critical components, and you see like the Kalakians in their true form, which is like these crystalline like worms.
Yeah, like these liquid metal worm rock things. It turns out they need a very hot temperature in order to be in their more human-like form. And once the mazer blew a hole into the base, all of the heat got sucked out into in outer space, and it caused them to revert back to this much more manageable form, I would say.
Well, yeah, they talk about like they're functionally immortal in that, you know, if it's as long as it's cold, they'll revert into rocks, and they will remain like that until the next time it gets warm. Which I guess if you live on an asteroid in the asteroid belt, that's a pretty handy thing to have. So, all right, so they take the control system and they need to dismantle it and take it back to Earth. And so they have to like saw through the base of the control system to detach it. So they need like a drill. Like there's like they're intercut with like Earth going like, did they fail? Like the signal hasn't stopped. But eventually they like the thing is like wobbling and it like falls off and stops. So all's good. They dismantled the control unit.
Yeah,
mostly
for the most part. Yeah, they had to break down their mazer cannon in order to do it, but it was worth it.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, this is do or die for humanity, so they have to destroy this thing. So, yeah, they get rid of it, and they leave. There's, like, a bunch of explosions on the moon. I guess this is, like, kind of, you know, video game or Metroid kind of rules. Like, you destroy the thing, and then the whole base blows up.
Yep, pretty much.
Yep. And so this is where we get the, like, the download about the Kalakians, their physiology, how they work. And Godzilla appears again, you know, down on Earth, but this time he's on our side because all of the, even with the mind control, I like this idea of like they somehow intuitively understand like normally we destroy humans, but these aliens are worse, so they gotta go.
They don't pass the vibe check. We can deal with the humans. These guys, you know, they got in our heads. Let's deal with them. Yeah,
and I think they say that the humans reverse engineered the control mechanism to command Godzilla to do this. So for now, he's just doing this again on remote control. And so all the monsters are going to attack this base that's on Mount Fuji. And I like that there's like color commentary.
Yes, it's almost like a play-by-play for like a wrestling match too, or like a sports event.
No, I guess after enough of these, right, you'd have broadcasters with the expertise.
Yeah, like little news crews showing up.
Right, and they're just, again, literally just color commentating like, oh, you know, Anguirus is here, Mothra is here, you know, they're all here. Manila is the first to arrive. Manila, by the way, is it or Minila or whatever? It's
all of those. Yep, both of those are used at some point. There's also Godzilla Jr.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, he's Godzilla Jr. Yep. This is the goofiest looking one, I think.
Yeah, he was really just designed in order for there to be some analog for little kids to relate to. One of the next films after this involves bullying, and it follows a young kid, and it cuts back and forth to the kid showing up on Monster Island talking with a kid-sized version of Minya, and then it's a wild fever dream. But yeah, not the most well received of the kaiju.
Yeah, and he doesn't do much here. Mostly it's, you know, the big ones that do stuff. Speaking of which, so the UFO comes and for its last salvo here, it summons King Ghidorah, which is basically a Hydra. It's a 3-headed dragon kaiju. Now, so I don't know anything, again, coming in blind about these characters. So is this the first appearance of this, or like this idea that they can just like, again, like summon him magically out of the moon, or how does this work?
So King Ghidorah has shown up, I believe, at least twice at this point. First, I believe, in the invasion of Astro Monster, and then it was just Godzilla versus King Ghidorah. And yeah, at this point, whenever aliens are involved is usually when King Ghidorah will show up, because he's not from Earth. He's an interstellar being that can either be summoned or controlled somehow via aliens. It's very much just hand-waved as to exactly how he shows up. But the monsters on Earth are very well aware of this being, and are very in tune on wanting to fight it, no matter what else is going on. If this creature shows up, because they know how powerful it is, if they don't team up on it, so they all already have like this predisposition to want to fight him. It seems like the Kalakins don't realize this, though.
Well, they do a good job, I think, of selling that, like, the big one is here. And also that, like, this was definitely the coolest bit of action in the movie.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Watching all of the monsters go to town against Ghidorah, like, that was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure.
Yeah, there's some good I don't know if you have any, like, particular moments during the fight that stand out as, like, oh, that's a real stand-up and cheer moment, or, like, something you take away from it.
Oh, I would say I liked when kind of Godzilla almost kind of puts him in like a weird half Nelson with his heads, and everybody starts to go and start laying into him. There's this moment they throw him on the floor, and Godzilla starts kind of like stomping on him, and everybody is just piling on top and just absolutely beating the snot out of King Ghidorah. At that point, that's like my big stand up and cheer moment, I'd say. Just watching all of these monsters just leaning into it and laying into them.
Yeah, there's a thing where, like, I don't know if it's the half Nelson thing you're talking about, but they definitely, like, it almost looks like they're going to snap one of his necks, right? Like, they have him, like, down and, like, twisted. They step on him a bunch. He's, firing off fireballs where he can. And they try to give everybody a chance to sort of use any unique powers they might have.
Yeah, Minnie gets involved.
Yep. All of it. And so you get, I like, there's a few, like, shouts of, like, Cobra Commander kind of stuff from the Queen. Hear the cries of these terrible monsters, all that stuff. But then at one point during this, like, Rodan gets zapped in the air by this, like, fireball. Not something tossed off by Ghidorah, but, like, there's this other thing in play. This flaming, just a comet or whatever you want to call it, just flying around in the air. And no one knows what this is, but, it blows up a base. They call it a fire dragon.
Yeah, it's almost like the panic button after the panic button at this point.
Right, but one of the things that happened in the fracas is that I think Ghidorah drops Rodan onto the side of Mount Fuji, which causes a landslide that exposes where the hidden base is.
Yes.
So one of the things the quote unquote fire dragon does is it destroys the system humanity is using to control the monsters. And even though that happens, the monsters still continue to fight against the true threat.
Yes.
There's like a little like Earthican patriotism there.
Yep. Yep. We stand for king and country. And
right.
They almost salute as they start heading off and fighting the aliens still, regardless of being mind controlled or not. Right.
Which they do. They stomp all over this base and wreck it. And it collapses, and the aliens all return to their rock forms. But that is not taking care of the fire dragon, which is still flying around. And so our heroes get back into their trusty SY-3 to take it down. And fortunately, the SY-3 has this like cryogenic blast that it can do. This surprise, it has an ice ray.
Yeah, why not? Just throw an ice ray on there.
Yeah,
they come standard on SY-3s, I think.
And then I don't know how many years this is before Star Wars, but they go like to pull the direct thing from Star Wars. They can't use their targeting system.
Yeah.
So they have to manually aim at this fireball and take it down, which they do. It turns out it's just a drone, like some sort of like automated machine, and they fire on the Kalak ship, and it is destroyed. And then this leads to the last scene, which is the helicopter flying around Monster Island, and all the monsters are back and happy, and they all kind of wave bye-bye.
Yeah, that's a nice little tie-up. They're all back there in Monster Land, and, all the monsters are there, all healthy and happy again, able to eat as many dolphins as they want. And, and especially, like, the fade with Godzilla waving back at them. It's great. It's just a nice sweet way to, and thinking about it as being a capstone or like a final movie. Yeah, it's a nice way to end it. A nice way to send them all off.
Yeah, it's even though obviously this is not the last, right? I mean,
Nope, made one the next year. Yep.
Yeah. Which one?
I think the next one they made was the one that involved bullying and the Minya. I'll remember the name in a moment.
And does it take plot threads from Destroy All Monsters and continue them forward, or is it just like I don't know more like I don't know what level of like care they're putting into the continuity here?
There's a couple breaks where they just kind of start doing their own thing. There's been breaks in the first few films where the Godzilla that we see now isn't the same Godzilla from the originals. That one was killed, and there's been new ones. So there's been a few of them.
I was gonna say by now the time we get to like the one with like Bryan Cranston and Godzilla -1, and so like they're none of that acknowledges any of this stuff from before, right? Those are all reboots.
Yes and no. The trilogy films and the Monarch show are definitely reboots of the original original work. Godzilla -1 is a retelling of the 1954 film almost. And so yeah, they do tend to just kind of break out into their own little universes more often than not.
It seems like you would almost have to. It's I mean,
Yeah.
any franchise runs this long. I mean, the only other thing I can think of that's close is James Bond, because that goes back to 62, and they gave up on continuity a while ago.
That's a really great way to think about it too, because there's like the Pierce Brosnan Bond, Roger Moore Bond, Sean Connery Bond. That's kind of the same way that the Godzilla eras kind of work too.
Yeah, because I think you look at again just because that's something I know enough to compare it to, where like once you get to Daniel Craig, it's like all bets are off because it's like, well, we retained Judi Dench from the previous era, and even though she's playing the same character, you're not the same James Bond. But we all just kind of go, okay, I guess this is not meant to be a sequel to Die Another Day. This is Casino Royale. We're starting over. So I imagine Godzilla's kind of the same way. We're like, we just want to get back to basics or whatever, and tell a Godzilla story unencumbered by all of this other stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So now we've kind of gone through it. I'm curious, what do you think it is about not just this franchise, but this genre? Like, because we've had things like, Pacific Rim, right? Like there's been the crossovers with, King Kong and Godzilla, a few of those different points in times. Like there's just something about this idea of like a giant monster.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think it is about like this, both the concept of a kaiju and then this series' particular articulation of it that makes it have staying power?
So I think that as a person, to speak for humanity, there's always this big worry about the unknown and about forces beyond our comprehension and beyond our ability to stop. You can look at Godzilla the same way you look at a hurricane, and we always want to try to understand those things better, and they all bring like both a sense of terror and a sense of awe. It's the same reason why people chase tornadoes. There's something otherworldly powerful about these things, and in these films, these creatures, that just almost forces curiosity because of how overwhelmingly powerful these creatures are. And it just gives a sense of awe and fear, which I think are two sides of the same coin most of the time.
Yeah, I was thinking about this as I was watching the movie, which is like, you look at, ancient mythology, or even like Judeo-Christian stuff. Like there are stories of, magical monsters, right?
Oh, yeah.
The Bible has the Leviathan, and you have, a God a million Greek or, Norse, Jormungandr, the world serpent, this idea of a creature that is beyond human comprehension in terms of size and power. That idea is very old. And I think you're right with regards to things like tornadoes and stuff. We like to think we are in charge, were important. And every once in a while, the universe shows you a way in which you are incredibly insignificant.
Oh, absolutely.
And have no power. And it's cool to come up with stories that confront these things. And what I loved about this was that, like, as much as, like, you can see all of the strings, like, I know that's just a dude in a rubber suit, somehow it's able to evoke the idea. Like, it's like it inspires your imagination to fill in the rest. Even when your eyes are telling you, yeah, that's clearly a guy standing, in a studio with a bunch of models stepping on them.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just, you're absolutely right there. There's almost an automatic suspension of disbelief. I don't know. I feel mainly that comes from, I feel the fact that every single person that are involved in these films, especially these early ones, they all are just committing 100%. All of the actors, the writing, the directing, it takes it so seriously that you have no choice but to go along with it, because that's the only thing that makes sense.
Yeah, as campy as it is, like, no one's winking at the camera, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I think if the human actors were not playing it as straight as they are, it would fall apart immediately, right? You need, because it's very silly stuff. And you need them to just kind of play it straight. Because there's, like, a thin line between this and, like, the films of Ed Wood.
Yeah.
Like, that's where you cross that line, and that's where you end up immediately. Mm-hmm. And they do a good job of, like, this kind of, coheres in its own weird way. Mm-hmm. So, so you said you've been sharing them with your son. How does he like them?
Like I said, he has become a bigger, he is more of an encyclopedia on Godzilla now than I ever was. And, it's been amazing. He's seen every single one from the 1954, I took him to see Godzilla -1 when it re-released in black and white. I also took him to see Godzilla 1954 when it was playing in Lower Manhattan, just as like a special event. He eats this stuff up, and he dives into it with the same amount of gusto that I did when I was that age, because it's just, big cool monster destroys all the things. But he's now old enough that he bridges that gap and can see the deeper meaning to a lot of these, and how they were talking about social commentary, like before on the nuclear threat. There's a few that are very focused on environmentalism, and it really starts to show, especially in the human portions of all these films. It would originally, when he was a little bit younger, he would typically fast forward through those parts and just get to the monster fights because he likes the monster fights. Who doesn't like the monster fights? But now he'll sit and watch it from, first opening credits straight through to the end. And it's been great to really have a bonding thing as prevalent as that. It's given us quite a large amount of material to watch together.
How old?
He is 11.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my son is... Go ahead.
He started when he was 6.
I say that's how old my son is now. He just turned 6, and he loves monsters and stuff. So I've been thinking about, maybe it is time to show him this. He forced me to buy him a Mechagodzilla toy.
Really?
But he had no idea what it was.
No, but it looks so cool.
It looks cool. He has an idea. He knows. He has a concept of what Godzilla is, but we've never really watched any Godzilla stuff. So now that I've seen this, I was like, this or one of the other ones might be fun. I think I showed... No, I take that back. I did show him some Godzilla movie. I don't remember which one it was. I let him watch it, and he seemed interested in it enough.
Okay.
I wish I remembered which one it was, because then we could talk about it in more detail.
Do you remember who they were fighting? A vague...
I'm pretty sure it was Godzilla. It was Godzilla. Okay. It wasn't one of the other ones.
Okay.
But it was... It might have been Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, now that I think about it.
There's a couple of those, and that would make sense. Those are good ones. I'm a big fan. There's a really campy one, Godzilla versus Megalon, that is my favorite. It is absolutely probably the silliest and campiest, and has my favorite kaiju, Jet Jaguar, in it. He's just a person that can, very much like Ultraman, that just gets real big, and then for a little while it can fight, and it's just really goofy and fun.
Yeah, I have a feeling this is the kind of thing he would like. He loves, all kind of monsters and creatures and, both actual zoological things and mythical things.
Awesome.
So, I'm looking forward to trying some of these on him and see how he does. We watched a little of King Kong, the original 1933, but
cool.
He was a little it was taking a little long to get to Skull Island. So they kind of got bored with it. I'm like, oh no, you're almost there. You're going to see the giant ape. And we never got farther than I think Fay Ray screaming in front of the gate. So we'll have to try it again at some point.
Yeah, definitely. Honestly, the Japanese films really they really know what they're doing. So those the Gamera series, there's a movie where Godzilla fights Frankenstein. Yeah,
even though Frankenstein is human sized.
No, he's monster.
Oh, he's monster sized.
Yeah, don't ask. He's a monster. Yeah, it's very weird. You don't expect to hear Frankenstein as being in the MonsterVerse catalog.
I was gonna say he's made from 50,000 dead bodies, not just one. Well, I'm really glad you brought this onto the podcast, Joe. This is a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Very glad I always like trying something new. It's fun to go on these podcasts and do something that I'm personally like, oh yeah, we're going to do The Princess Bride. Yay. But also getting to branch out a bit is really cool.
No, that's great. I'm glad you got to experience something new. I'll get a tier list from my son for you guys to use as a watching guide, because you don't need to watch them in any order. So I'll get,
that'd be awesome.
I'll get his top 3 for you.
Sure. All right. We'll make some popcorn and have a good time.
Definitely. Sounds like a plan.
All right. Well, cool. Joe, thank you so much for coming by. Is there anything you want to plug or no?
Yeah, sure. So I am a player in an actual play podcast called Dice Training. It's a really nice group of people, some American, Canadian, some British people. We get together, we promote a very safe and inclusive table, and try to put on a good show for people to listen to.
You mean you're referring to Dungeons and Dragons specifically? Or just tabletop gaming in general?
Tabletop and game. Dungeons and Dragons is a nice umbrella term. We use different systems than traditional Dungeons and Dragons, but they're definitely the spiritual successors of it. There's a main series that is running at the moment, and there'll be mini series here and there where we explore new systems that we haven't quite used before. Just kind of almost as a review in that regard, where we could just to experience new things, get out of our comfort zones.
Oh, that's great. I'm not, as much as I'm a nerd, I am not well versed in tabletop stuff, particularly D&D, but I was trying to describe what D&D was to my daughter.
Okay.
Because we went to, my son had a swimming lesson, which she had to just sort of sit and watch him, watching somebody else swim for a half an hour is pretty boring. So I was trying to keep her entertained without just having her stare at a screen. I said, okay, well, we'll play quote unquote Dungeons and Dragons. And so what I did was I just acted as DM and I just made everything up.
Yeah.
Whole cloth. Oh, you're standing in a dungeon. There's a guy sitting by the fire, whatever. And what do you want to do? And she would say, oh, I want to total kid brain of things you don't expect her to do. I set the scene there's 2 crones sitting by a fire in the wood. They're mysterious. And I said, what do you want to do? And instead of saying I want to ask them a question, or she says, I push them in the fire. I'm like, okay, let's roll to see if you succeed. Okay, I guess you shoved them in the fire.
Yeah, that's
funny.
a fun part. If you get a chance to run a game for kids, I'm actually in a couple of weeks. I'm going to be running a game for my son and his friends, all 11 and under. That's going to be a wild time.
Oh, that's going to be really cool. Are they going to get real into the math of it, or are they going to be ah?
No, they as most of them have played a little bit before, so it's not wholly new to them. And they're all very story and creatively like-minded. My son has built up his character. He wrote a little backstory for it. So they get into it more than I was ever expecting, to be honest. I was expecting the first time I ran kids to get that crone pushing moment, but for the whole time. You get a little bit of that, but as long as you provide a fun story, that's what D&D really is. If you ever wanted to explain what Dungeons and Dragons is, or tabletop role playing games is, to the most, I guess, the fundamental aspect of it is you're just trying to collaboratively tell a story, where the dungeon master or the game master is setting the mood and setting the story, providing the characters and setting, and the players are providing the narrative and the dialogue, where they provide the action. And you try to plan for as much as you can and just be ready to roll with it if you have to improv, and you're just trying to tell a good story. And it's fun. It's a very fun time to collectively hallucinate a little story together.
And as we know, the DM also has to provide the Cheetos and the Mountain Dew. Also required.
It's helpful, yes.
Yes. So again, Joe, thanks for dropping by. Let me just do a quick bit of admin here. So if you like this podcast or Joe's, please go check it out. If you like those shows, go to wherever you found them, drop them a review. That actually is a big help in terms of increasing a podcast visibility and helping new people find it. Also good is word of mouth. And if you want to get in touch with us, just go put in Nostalgium on any social network of your choice. You'll probably find it because of its ridiculous spelling. And that's a great way to get in touch with us and tell us what you think about Destroy All Monsters or any of our recent episodes. If you want to know what is coming up next, try subscribing on Facebook, BlueSky, or Instagram, because every Wednesday I will post a clue as to what the next week's subject will be. And then the following day after that, I'll show you what it was and promote it. And we'll talk all about the upcoming episode for that Monday. So, Joe, again, can't thank you enough for dropping by.
Oh, absolutely. I really had an awesome time. It's been a great time talking to you.
Likewise, man. All right. So until next time, that is one more entry in the Nostalgium Arcanum.
Godzilla! Monster! From the depths of the sea, the king of the monster. To you up, dog. This cone's getting conquered. I roll with Rodan. Mothra and the homies. From a social primate, you could seem lonely. Your only friend is a damsel in distress, who cringes while you sniff on her ripped off dress. You're a chimpanzee, mama lives like a thunder. When I'm crushing on a girl, it means a foot she comes under. Pathetic with the humans, enduring their abuse. Getting chained up and roofied on some goofy berry juice. I eat up a whole city like some Tokyo play. You get spoon-fed hot red like here comes the airplane. I'm dropping off the Empire field. Jersey Smollett's if this beatdown is real. I got this battle covered like a Ben-coated. I'll make an ass out of you like Nintendo did. The only game I play is Rampage, Lucy. Beauty kills this beast that you trust ain't pretty. When your ass brain is hanging with these monkey bars. You ain't got punchlines, you barely even got arms. You came off the base for Frankenstein, first time we made a movie. And I dumped on you like Barkley at the base of Mount Fuji. Face facts, cankles, you can't fill since yourself. So they bring the mammal in the nurse and fills back to hell. Don't you coast you to me, I'm as old as Death Row. Rippin' RKO, and we don't have to tell her. The eighth wonder of the world, and the word when I rhyme. If you think you're mine, can't compete with mine. Just say goodbye, miscaptured your words, don't match your act. You weren't even the bombest monster from the CG was cracking.